So I'm rebuilding a reproducer here for a standard talking machine Model X. This was a machine made by the Columbia company, and the reproducer here, I've got it all torn apart. I didn't think about making a video of this until after I got to about this stage. And when I got this thing, it only had one of the two reproducer gaskets still in it. And that's a bit of it right there, rock hard. And these are the new pieces of gasket. I've already cut them the length. I buy it by the foot from Ron Sitko in New York State. He sells two different sizes. There's the larger size that's too big for use on this reproducer. The size gasketing material that I'm using is the same size that would be used for rebuilding an exhibition reproducer here. Like this is a Victor exhibition reproducer. It would be used on a lot of different models of Victor talking machine up in well into the orthophonic era, because even the cheaper models continue to use this particular reproducer. This reproducer is not too hard to redo, and I'll try to put it together here. I've got the new gasket material here. It's going to go in. I'll try to do this maybe one-handed. Let's see if I can use something to hold the camera up while I do this. There we go. Using a weight for an 8-day OG clock. That'll work. So I figured out how long the gasket needs to be by taking it and wrapping it around, laying it in the groove, and wrapping it around. Then I cut it with a razor blade. And we'll call this 6 o'clock, and we'll call this 12 o'clock. I'm going to start by putting this gasket in here, the inside gasket. The joint is going to be at the 12 o'clock position. And you see immediately there's a problem there. The easier way to do this... Oh, there we go. Sometimes if you get it cut just right, it butts up real tight, and you've actually got to sort of get it started there, and then leave this part out and start this side, and then work that bit in last so that it's nice and tight. So as you can see, just a little bit of a gap there, but I don't think it's going to be a problem. Actually, looking at the gap, the camera is exaggerating the gap greatly. There's hardly any gap there at all. This is the diaphragm and needle bar assembly, and this uses a pair of springs that the needle bar pivots on. There's 2 points right there that engage 2 holes on the back side of the needle bar, and this uses a chuck, spring chuck, to hold the needle in instead of a thumb screw. Sort of a Columbia thing. And I'm going to install this type. You know, the body is just one piece. It's just held in. There's a little lip on the underside there that holds the gasket in. And that's probably the trickiest part right there, is getting the diaphragm in and getting the diaphragm out. And I'll go ahead and get the screws that hold the needle bar pivot in place started first. And get them real tight. Okay, at this point I'm going to check it. And it's just putting some pressure on the diaphragm there. Not much. It's still pretty free. You see how the pivot on this works. And it just sits there and can pivot on those springs. This is the second gasket, and it's going to go in with the joint at the 6 o'clock position so that when it's reassembled you can't really see it. And use the screwdriver to gently get that in the position there. See, there's some staining there on the gasket material, but it's nice and tight in there, and the gasket is nice and uniformly in the lip. This is what's known as a long throat reproducer because of the long throat there, as opposed to this exhibition reproducer, which they also made these in long throat versions. This is obviously one made to go on a tone arm. See, the diaphragms are very similar in size. At this point we can snug these screws up a little bit here. Not too tight. Okay, now to reassemble it onto the machine. The old gasket here, we don't need any of that anymore. It's trash. So this is the traveling arm. There's the cradle where the horn rests. There's the pivot. There's a pin here that locates this hole in the back of the reproducer. Like that. And then the horn goes on. And the horn has a brass elbow, and this is actually a piece of rubber tubing. It's rock hard, but it's intact and it fits snug on there, so I'm not going to mess with it. And there we go. Now it's all rebuilt and ready to play a record. So let me move some things around. We'll get the rest of the machine. This will stand up real nice out of the way like this, too, when you're not using it. I've got the machine sitting here with a record on it. And this is the support arm that this attaches to. It just sits like that on there. Now for a needle. These little fat stubby needles don't fit. That doesn't fit very well either. Need a thin one. That's the ticket. Okay. Now to wind the machine, make sure it's off. About 50 turns is enough to play a record. And this is the way the crank looks on the end.
look at me now.
There you have it. That's how you rebuild a reproducer on one of these machines. Like I said, this is a standard talking machine model X. I've got a turntable on it I bought off of eBay with a standard 1/4-inch post. These originally had a 9/16 center post, and I do have the 9/16 center post, and I've got some 9/16 inch hole standard talking machine records. I'll have to play one in a future video, but as you heard, it sounds really good.